Remember when Eaton's wasn't just a store, it was a promise? When the wish book landed on your kitchen table every fall and your whole family fought over who got to circle the toy pages first? When walking into the Eaton Center wasn't a mall trip, it was an event. For over a century, Eaton's wasn't just where Canadians shopped, it was where Canadians believed in something. That if it came in an Eaton's box, it was built to last. And if it didn't, they'd take it back, no questions asked. But somewhere between the boardroom and the bankruptcy courts, that belief was destroyed. Not by one bad year, by the people who were supposed to protect it. This is how Eaton's, Canada's greatest store, lost everything that made it matter. In 1869, a 35-year-old Irish immigrant named Timothy Eaton opened a small dry goods shop on Yonge Street in Toronto. He didn't have much, but he had two ideas nobody else in Canada was using. First, one fixed price for every customer, no haggling, no special treatment for the well-dressed and worse treatment for the poor. Second, and even more radical for 1869, goods satisfactorily or money refunded. If you weren't happy, you got your money back. No arguments. That single promise, written on a small card and pinned near the till, became the foundation of everything Eaton's would build for the next 130 years. Cash only. No credit, no debt traps for working families, just a plain, honest deal between a shopkeeper and the people of this country. By 1884, that small shop had grown enough to mail Canadians something extraordinary, a catalog. Farm families in Saskatchewan who had never set foot in Toronto could order a winter coat, a stove, even a house kit, and trust it would arrive exactly as promised. For isolated communities across the prairies, the Eaton's catalog wasn't a luxury. It was a lifeline to the rest of the country. By 1896, the company was calling itself with total confidence Canada's greatest store. Nobody disagreed. By 1930, Eaton's controlled almost 60% of all department store sales in this country. 60%. There was Eaton's. And then there was everyone else, fighting over what was left. The Toronto flagship on Yonge Street had marble elevators, a concert auditorium, and the Round Room restaurant, designed to bring a little bit of London elegance to a country that was still, in many ways, finding its own identity. But the real magic wasn't downtown Toronto, it was Winnipeg. As late as the 1960s, more than 50 cents of every non-grocery dollar spent in that city went through the doors of the Portage Avenue Eaton's. On a busy Saturday, 1 in every 10 people in Winnipeg walked through that store. Think about that. Not 1 in 10 shoppers, 1 in 10 people in the entire city. Eaton's was woven into how Canadians actually lived. The Pumpkinhead teddy bear under the tree at Christmas 1948. The Santa Claus Parade. Eaton's own parade, broadcast and beloved, that ran in Toronto for decades. The school clothes bought every September because that's just where your mother took you. Eaton's paid for medical care and pensions for its staff decades before that was standard anywhere in Canadian retail. It treated workers like the company expected to be around forever. And for a long time, it looked like it would be. The Eaton family, 4 generations of them, ran the company like custodians of something sacred, not just a business. Canada's greatest store wasn't a slogan. By the 1960s, it was simply, quietly, true. Then came the decision that started the end. Not a single moment. A slow, stubborn refusal to believe the country around them was changing. Through the 1980s, something was shifting. Shopping malls were pulling customers away from massive downtown flagship stores. New competitors, Walmart, Zellers, the big box discounters, were offering rock-bottom prices Eaton's wasn't built to match, and inside the company, the 4th generation of the Eaton family was now in charge. Frederick Eaton, the chairman, was known for one phrase whenever advisors raised concerns. The world goes on. It wasn't reassurance, it was dismissal. In the early 1990s, under CEO George Eaton, the company made its most catastrophic decision, something called everyday value pricing. The idea? Get rid of the seasonal sales, the big promotional events Canadians had planned their shopping calendars around for generations, and just set one steady price all year. On paper, it looked efficient. In practice, it broke the relationship. Canadians didn't want efficient. They wanted the Boxing Day rush, the Trans-Canada sale, the thrill of catching Eaton's at a discount once a year. When internal staff raised the alarm, George Eaton's response was blunt. "Don't tell me how to run my store, I'll run it any way I want." Sales started bleeding, so management panicked and made it worse. They dropped trusted product lines like appliances that loyal customers had bought from Eaton's for generations. Then they brought in expensive new merchandise nobody asked for, trying to chase a younger, trendier shopper with campaigns built around the word diversity. But here's the cruel twist. The younger shoppers Eaton's was chasing had never had a relationship with the brand to begin with, and the loyal customers who did, the ones who'd shopped there their whole lives, walked into stores that no longer felt like the Eaton's they trusted. Too expensive for the people who'd been loyal, still not cool enough for the people they were chasing. Eaton's had managed something remarkable. It alienated everyone, all at once. By 1997, the damage was done. Eaton's filed for bankruptcy protection for the first time in its 128-year history. 21 stores closed, 2,000 employees lost their jobs overnight. George Eaton stepped down. The family that had run this company since 1869 was for the first time no longer fully in control of it. There was a restructuring. New management came in promising a turnaround. New leadership. Public shares sold on the Toronto Stock Exchange for the first time ever. $15 a share. Full of optimism. For a moment, it almost looked like it might work. It didn't. By 1998, the company posted a net loss of $72 million. The stock that opened at $15 was, within a year, worth 30 cents. In August 1999, it fell apart completely, and it fell apart fast. On the 13th, a Friday, talks to sell part of the chain to an American buyer collapsed. Within days, the Eaton brothers quietly cleaned out their offices. On the 16th, the main distribution center shut down, throwing 300 more people out of work. Then Tommy Hilfiger's lawyers showed up at the Montreal stores with a court order and physically seized merchandise off the shelves, suppliers grabbing what they were owed before there was nothing left to grab. Every store in Quebec closed within days. And on August 20th, 1999, after 130 years, Eaton's filed for bankruptcy. Final this time. No more chances. Sears Canada bought what was left. The name, a handful of stores, the catalog rights, for $50 million. $50 million for a company that once controlled 60% of a nation's department store sales. By February 2002, the Eaton's name was gone from Canadian storefronts entirely. And then, almost too cruel to be true, Sears Canada itself, the company that picked up Eaton's bones, collapsed into its own bankruptcy in 2017 and closed every single store within a year. Canada didn't just lose Eaton's, it lost the company that replaced it too. Twice in 20 years, this country watched a department store giant it grew up inside of simply disappear. So what actually killed Eaton's? Not Walmart, not the mall, not even the internet. Eaton's didn't even live long enough to face that fight properly. What killed Eaton's was a family that mistook loyalty for permanence. They believed Canadians would keep coming because they always had. They chased trends they didn't understand while abandoning the people who'd kept them alive for 120 years. And by the time they realized their mistake, there was no catalog left to mail, no wish book left to circle, no Santa Claus Parade float left with the Eaton's name on the side. Walk through the Toronto Eaton Centre today, and the name is still there in the architecture, in the bones of the building, but the store itself is gone, completely. Not struggling, not diminished, not fine the way some old brands limp on. Gone. There is no modern Eaton's to compare to the old one, no current version that disappoints longtime shoppers. The whole thing simply stopped existing, all at once, in the summer of 1999. Somewhere in this country, in someone's basement or attic, there's probably an old Eaton's catalog from 1975, the corners worn soft from being flipped through every Christmas. A reminder that this country once had a store that made a promise and kept it, generation after generation, until the people running it stopped believing it mattered. Do you remember the wish book, the smell of the downtown Eaton's at Christmas? Tell me in the comments. What's the one Eaton's memory you still think about? And if this brought back something you hadn't thought about in years, share it with someone who'd remember it too. Subscribe to Canada Retold. We're keeping the memories of this country alive, one store at a time.